Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. I've been out picking. Now that business is nearly going to open up after the pandemic, they're easing restrictions here in Australia, and I should be able to have my shop open by next weekend if all goes well. So I've been out buying again. I get calls every day nearly about, come and help me clean out my shed and that sort of stuff. And I've been saying lately, no, I'm not really buying because the shop's been closed for 3 or 4 months. But this one I thought I'd go and have a look at, mainly because the lady said she had old bottles, and I've been a bottle collector all my life, so that was kind of the draw card there. But we had a bit of a rummage in her shed, picked up some interesting stuff. They were going to get a skip in and throw it all out, and there's still a lot more to go, so I might have another look at some stage. We only had the car over there today. But I thought in this video I'll just run through a few of the treasures we found, give you an idea how I'm going to clean them up, what I think they're worth, and we'll give a bit of a total at the end of the deal. Now we'll go through these items one at a time and give you an idea on their values. The 2 old cream cans here I grabbed purely just because they're nice decorative items. They have got lids, but both of them have rust holes through the bottom of them. I'm not going to go to too much trouble cleaning them up because they're probably only really suitable for the garden. This one is quite rusty, lots of spider webs. It took me ages to get the lid off, it was rusted in. So I think they're probably only, say, $10 to $15 items each, but I will give them a quick wash up. These longer things here, well, there was a bag of old golf sticks. Most of them weren't any good at all, but these 2 are actually the old hickory shaft ones. Now they're in pretty awful condition, but the shafts aren't split or damaged other than very dirty. So I usually sell those for around $10 to $20 each, but they're quite rusty. I'll probably clean the heads up a bit, so the price on those will depend on how much they clean up. I'll show you these things once I get them clean as well. This was buried in the dirt, and I thought it was just a standard pick, but it's got a really unusual end on it. Now I'm not sure if someone's just welded a horseshoe on the end or whether it's a proper custom made tool, or commercial made tool. So I'll clean that up and see if there's any marks on it. I won't worry too much about values here, I'll just really show you what I've got. This long crosscut saw is a little different to the normal handheld ones. It's actually quite a thick gauge metal, and it's got an unusual end on it. Now it would have been on a machine driven drag saw, they call them. It's a large reciprocating thing, and they often were quite large machines and would have been fairly interesting to watch work because they cut through large logs with those out in the bush. So that will clean up really well as a decoration. I'm not going to go to a lot of trouble cleaning it up. Give it a bit of a scrub perhaps with the hose and some heavy steel wool. It may even have some maker's marks on it. This was one of my favourite pieces I found. It was buried in the dirt in the corner of the shed, and it's actually a railways item. It's the original track points lever. I don't know what its proper name is, but I think that's probably going to be one of the better pieces I've got from this deal. Again, we'll clean that up and see if there's any marks on it. The large shifter here was sitting on the bench. It's got a bit rusty, but it's a good size. It's 18-inch, good heavy-duty shifter. They sell well. Not so much collectibles, probably just very usable. Boot lasts I always grab. They're very common, these ones. This one was in the dirt and it's very rusty, so not a lot of value there, maybe only $10 for that one. This little one's unusual, and it has got a maker's mark on there somewhere. I'll have to clean it up. It's actually embossed both sides, so that might be a bit better because they're a bit more unusual, so maybe 15 to 20 on that. The axe head was in the dirt as well, very rusty, but I think it's a plum axe. It looks like it says plum. We'll clean that one up. As long as it's not actually cracked, that one could hold a few dollars. A little bit of checking on that one. Over this side we have a hurricane lamp hanging up in the shed. It's got a wasp's nest on it. It's an Australian brand, Lenora. It looks in reasonable condition other than surface rust. The glass hasn't cracked, not rusted out underneath, and they look great hanging in the shop. Depending how that cleans up, we'll probably get $20 to $30 for that. This one was a real shame. It would have been a great tin if it hadn't have been so rusted. Cornies, it looks like it's a, oh, it says flour. It's a flour canister, but would have had a great trademark on there. I'm going to try and clean that up a bit. Hopefully we get some more of the colour and you can read it a bit better. It'll still have some value, but in good condition that would have been, I would imagine that would have been in the hundreds. Nice early Australian tin. I'm not sure what era it would be. Could be 30s or so, but we'll try and clean that one up. Milk bottles, they're quite common ones. These just 1 pint milks. They'd probably be 1960s era, but they look pretty cute in a little carrier. I've got to straighten the handle, so they'll wash up, and we'll get, oh well, I'd get $5 each bottle, but I will sell them as a set. We'll probably put $30 on that set with the carrier. Another lamp here. This one's a pressure lamp. Could be a Tilly or a Coleman. I haven't looked for a brand yet, but that will clean up quite well. Again, it doesn't look damaged. The bottom will be nickel plated brass, so it should clean up quite well. It actually feels like it'll still pressurise, so there's a chance it would even work. It would need a mantle in there, but we're not going to try and get it going. We'll just clean it up for sale. That could be 30 to 40 bucks that one, depending how well it cleans up and what brand it is. A little Art Deco jar here. We dug this out of the dirt. It's an amber one. They do turn up in green. They come in different sizes. The steel lid's quite rusty. I haven't tried to get it off. But they sell well because they're very Art Deco, sort of Depression era, 30s or 40s. So we'll give that a wash up. We'll get 10 to 15 for that. The Willow, classic Willow watering can. It's got the rose on it, which is great because a lot of them are missing that. It looks like it's just a press-on type. But that one's good. They're good, heavy, galvanised, well galvanised, so they rarely rust out. They're actually in really good condition. Oh, there's something else in there I forgot to get out. An old ginger beer. We'll look at that one in a minute. So that's a nice piece. I reckon I'd get $30 odd for that without a problem. Moving on, we have this Enameled Colander. It's a nice early one, quite heavy. The enamel's got a few chips and dings. In fact, I think it's missing one of the handles now. I didn't notice that at the start. Yeah, the handle's gone. Still, vintage KitchenAid is popular. The enamelware looks great. It'll wash up quite well. And these dings and enamel loss areas, just they kind of add to the character. If you're going to have a display of vintage KitchenAid, you don't want it all looking brand new. So that'll wash up all right. Let's say $10. It'll be a quick seller at that. Last few things. This tin. I haven't seen one of these before. Now, it's missing its lid. It would have had a hinged lid. Now, on the front, it's actually a coronation souvenir for King George VI. And it's got a built-in perpetual calendar, they call these, and it still works. We've got dials for the month and for the date. Now, I did a quick eBay search and didn't actually find one of these. So I don't really know what it's worth. It's not in the best condition, but I'm going to try and clean it up. And I was watching a video recently on cleaning up beer cans with lemon juice, and apparently they don't remove the paint. So we might give that a go, because the value here is in the artwork and the fact of, you know, it's a perpetual calendar, but there's not a lot of value as far as royalty stuff goes. I find royalty stuff pretty hard to sell because everyone kept it. You know, souvenirs of coronations were just that. They were souvenirs, and people in the old days put them aside. So a lot of them turn up in cupboards. But this one is going to have nice graphics. It's going to appeal to people that collect perpetual calendars or collect tins. It dates to 1937, I think the coronation year was. So we might give that a go in lemon juice and see how well it cleans up. Value-wise, I'm thinking I'm going to probably ask about $25 or $30. Just depends how well it cleans up. It's a shame it didn't have the lid, and it's a shame it's not in better condition. But it was worth grabbing, I thought. Now, the last couple of things before we get to the bottles. The last thing is a large Bakelite radio, probably 1950s or so. I'm going to start restoring some old valve radios. It's a bit of an interest of mine. So I was drawn towards this straight away. and then bitterly disappointed when I looked in the back. Now the radio's essentially still there, but it's in tragic condition. It's had, and this shed had rats through it. There's a lot of the parts missing. I don't know what happened. That valve's been broken. There's a loose valve at the front. As you can see, the speaker paper is no more. You can see straight through it. So that's really beyond restoration as far as a radio goes. I mean, anything can be restored if you've got the time and the money, but it's just not worth that. However, I grabbed it purely because the Bakelite case appears to be undamaged. These often crack at the top because people pick them up from the top, and being heavy, it'll actually crack. Sometimes the corners break because they get dropped. This one, I have only had a quick look over it, but I cannot see any breaks or chips to the Bakelite. And as absolutely filthy dirty as it is, it will actually polish back okay. It'll be just a motley brown, I would imagine. One of the dial knobs is missing, the other one's there. The dial glass I was thinking might be worth saving, but then I did notice it had a little crack this end. The speaker grill's okay. It's lost the badge. I think that was an Astor badge if I remember correctly. I'm not sure if we can read on the... Oh, there we go, Astor, yeah. So I've really only grabbed it for parts, and I said to the lady, I'm not going to allow any money for it, but I don't want you to throw it in the bin. So I'll try and rescue the case, and who knows, down the track I might pick up a radio for restoration of this model that has a cracked case. So that's more of a save what I can out of it, rescue it for parts. And, you know, I might start keeping a few of these. I'm unlikely to actually use any of the main parts in my radio restorations, although there's going to be a valve in there that might be okay. That looks like the rectifier valve, it might be fine. Don't know about the transformers, they're pretty rusty. But if I'm going to start doing restorations, look, even the speaker brackets and screws in there, it's handy to keep some little bits of hardware, because then when you're restoring something, you've got hardware of the right era. So we're not going to enter any dollars for this one, but I'm just explained why I grabbed it, and we will try and clean the case up. Now, the last thing out of this lot was these bottles. Now, as I told you, I'm drawn towards bottles, and whilst there's no outstanding startling one here, the best one here was this PG Dixon Melbourne Torpedo, in really good condition. Beautiful colour, nice bold embossing, no cracks or chips, needs a bit of a wash, there's some stains inside. But it's not a rare bottle, and I actually did say to the lady that I'd offer her $50 for that one. I don't think it's worth a great deal more, and it's not one I'll keep in my collection because I only really collect local stuff. But it's a 1890s Melbourne Torpedo in really good condition. I think I'd probably put, you know, $80 odd on it in the shop. So I'm not making a lot of margin on that, but I wanted to be fair to her, and that was the best bottle she had. These other ones are just clean skins. There's no embossing on them at all. That one's a bit cloudy and scuffed. It won't clean up very well. This one, not too bad. It's dirty inside. But I'll get $10 to $15 each for those through the shop. So that's going to add up a bit. And this last stoneware one is quite an early ginger beer. It's probably 1850s, 1860s. And it has got something written on here, and I haven't cleaned it up. Unfortunately, it's got some chips to the base. I think that's just a potter's mark. I've only rubbed my fingers over it, so I'll give it a bit of a wash up and see. Some of these do have town names on the shoulders impressed, and can be very valuable and certainly have some historic value to the towns they came from. If that's just a potter's mark with the damage, it's only going to be about a $10 bottle. But I will wash it up to make sure there's nothing written on there that relates to a local town. So that's the appraisals of what I've got. I've given you a few prices. I've given you an idea of why I grabbed all this stuff. I offered the lady $150 to lot, and that includes $50 for this torpedo. I, of course, need to make a profit. That's what I do, and there's going to be a bit of work in cleaning some of this up. So hopefully you find this interesting in that you're understanding how I buy and how my thought process goes as far as values. But what I'll do is I will clean them all up. I'll keep a bit of a track of my time. I'll make a list of the prices that I actually get for everything, and some of the prices I've said here I may vary either way depending on how well things clean up. and we'll just see how it all pans out. I'm aiming, when I'm buying these sort of deals, I'm aiming to try and triple my money or thereabouts. When you consider travel and then all the time to clean things up and then having to sell it through the shop and all my overheads of a business, if I can't do that sort of margin, well, I'm really not interested in buying. So that's where I'm coming from. We'll see how all this works out, and if I make substantially more than that, if something turns out to be better than I'm appraising, I've still got the lady's contact details, and I'll get back to her and give her a bit of a cash bonus. So there we go. I'll better hop to it and start cleaning things up, and we'll do a price list and show you that before we wind the video up. And hopefully, as I said, hopefully we can start trading in our shop soon. Alright, we'll check in soon. Okay, it's a few weeks later. Time to have a look over this stuff. It's all cleaned up. We have been opening our shops the last few weekends and trading, so gradually Australia's coming out of this virus thing. Hopefully we keep on the path to clearing it up completely. Alright, so I've got a notepad here. I've listed everything out. I'll quickly scan through them. Basically these bigger things I just cleaned up with a scourer. This boot last turned out to be rather rough, and it has been welded, so we might struggle to get 10 for that. The other one, as you can see here, cleaned up really well. Now I've put this in my electrolysis tank, and I'll put a link up the top corner now to show you how that works. And it cleans all the rust up. It shows the embossing much more nicely, and then I've sprayed it with a clear lacquer, so we end up with a really nice patina. It won't rust again, and it won't be dirty to use inside as a doorstop or a paperweight or something. So that cleaned up really well. I put a bit more on that than what I thought. Also the axe head definitely is a plum USA, and I did the same thing with that, put it in the electrolysis tank. It's a little bit pitted, but it's not cracked. Yeah, the back's got a bit of pitting, but it's still a very usable axe head, quite collectible, and I've put about 50 on that. I'll show you the price list in a tick. The golf sticks cleaned up better than expected actually. The hickory shafts came out really good. All I did, I took the old grips off them. The old leather strapping was no good, and all I did was use some fine steel wool to clean the timber up, and then I've just given them some furniture oil. The heads are a bit rusty, well at least the iron is. The wood actually cleaned up pretty good. So I'm going to put 15 each on those. What else have we got? The big pick thing, I still haven't worked out if it's original or someone's modified it. I couldn't see any marks on it. You can see evidence of welding there. But it's a bit quirky, and I think I wrote down $20 for that. The other things cleaned up pretty well as expected. I straightened the crate for the milk bottles and just peeled the remainder of the white plastic off it. But that'll sell well. Great KitchenAlia item. The big drag saw blade, just gave it a bit of a quick scrub with a wire brush, just to get any loose stuff off it. I think I wrote down $80 for that. No, $50 for that one, which should sell easily to anyone that just wants a decorative saw blade on their wall. I could possibly get more for it from someone that actually knew what a drag saw was, but I'm not going to worry. I'll hang it up on the wall for $50. The Railways point sleever, I couldn't find out much information on that. I know Railways stuff does sell very well. Again, I just gave it a quick scrub with a wire brush. There was no branding other than some casting numbers. I think I wrote down 80 for that one. Should be easy enough to get 80 for. Now the bottles all cleaned up pretty well, and prices as discussed earlier. The ginger beer is just a generic English one, and it's quite badly chipped, so I only wrote down 5 for that in the end. The shifter, I'm actually going to take that home. It's a good solid shifter. It's not overly worn in the joints. I think I priced it at 30, but I'll take that one home. The lamps cleaned up pretty well. This pressure lamp is actually a Tilly, which is quite a well-known brand. I think it's written on the side there. Cleaned up very well, and I think that would still work with a, can't see the brand now, with a mantle in it. I think it would still work. There we go, it says Tilly there. So I'd get 50 for that one, because that one would be operational fairly easily. The other hurricane lamp, I think I put about 30. Now this tin was the best thing, and I've done a separate video on cleaning this tin up. How good's that compared to how it looked originally? It's still a bit rough, but it came up great. Now I've got a separate video on cleaning the tin up, and I tried the Royal one, the Coronation one, and unfortunately I did more damage to that. So I've downgraded that, unfortunately, in an attempt to clean it. But this one more than compensated. And I'll put the link for the video on cleaning those tins up with citric acid up the top now. But certainly we've got some good value now from that Cornies one. I've estimated that one to be worth about $90 in the shop. Alright, let's have a look at the notepad, as just discussed. Yeah, 30, 20 for the pick, 50 drag saw. Could certainly get more for some of these, but I like things to sell fairly quickly. The Plum Axe Head 50, I think a collector would pay that without any problems. The lamps, the Cornies tin, milk crate, the Tilly lamp, yes, the Deco Jar. The radio I haven't got here, I took it home just for parts as mentioned earlier. And the torpedo bottles were the clean ones, the plain skins cleaned up pretty good. I think I've allowed 15, 15 and 10 to get the 40 and 80 on the other one. So a grand total of just over $700. I think that's a realistic selling price for all this. Now, I mentioned earlier I paid $150 for the lot. So because a lot of them took a fair bit of work, particularly the Cornies tin, I'm going to allow myself $100 for labour. So if we say 700 return, less 100 gives us 600. I told you I like to triple my money, and so 1/3 of the 600 would be 200. I paid the lady $150. So what I'm going to do is message her and tell her that I've got $50 in an envelope for her, because I'm happy to pay $200 for this deal, and I like to look after people, and that's the margin I want to work on. As I said earlier, if I can't make that sort of margin, I'm not interested. I'm spoiled for choice. There's always plenty of these deals going. So that's where we're finishing up. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be doing some more of these, so please let me know if you'd like to see more, because I'm happy for my channel to be shaped by what you guys want to see. I do a lot of things under the umbrella of recycling, and because this is my business, I'm always going to be poking around in sheds. So thanks for watching again. Catch you in the next video.